Hey, so you want to get some positive perspective in your life? Stay tuned to find out how. What's going on, guys? It's Marcus here with Discover Ignite, and today we are talking about positive perspective on life. Now, a lot of people may actually be struggling with negative thoughts, and they might actually find that it's hard to actually find any kind of positive take on life. Now, how exactly do we change our perspective to be a positive one on life? And this is what we're talking about today. I'm actually going to give you guys some tools that will help you guys change your perspective. So let's get started. You know, our perspective is actually molded in our upbringing. Now we have our core beliefs, which actually makes us, right? Now we have our perspective, which is essentially the filter in which we see life in. Now, depending on what your upbringing was, you may have had some traumatic events, or there may have been something that has happened in your life that has made you see things in a specific light. Now that can be, again, your upbringing, or that can be, you know, an event that has happened in your life that taints things in a specific light. Now, can we change perspective? And my answer to you is yes. And it does take work, right? It's gonna take some time to actually try to understand what it is that we're trying to change. But that's what we're talking about today. We want to be able to change our perspective so we can open ourselves up to new opportunities and allow ourselves to grow more. So this is why it is ideal that we want to change our perspective on specific things, so that way we can kind of get an understanding of the other side, and then, you know, make a better judgment on if our perspective is actually holding us back from other opportunities. So like most things in life, you always want to try to keep an open mind. Now, this is a lot easier said than done, and a lot of people may think that they're very open-minded, but how much of an open mind are you actually keeping, right? Now, one of the first things I want to actually touch on here is how much of the other side, the other perspective, do you understand? Now, this is a big thing because a lot of people don't really understand a lot from that other perspective, but will essentially cast judgment on that particular subject, maybe because of the masses maybe falling a specific way, and they have not yet in turn actually try to understand where that perspective is coming from. So we have to try to dive deep on whatever perspective we want to change, and actually get a very good grasp of what's going on and get a deep dive into that specific perspective, so that way we can actually come up with a better judgment and maybe even reestablish what our perspective is. So my next thing here is to actually focus on the lesson and not the issue. Now, a lot of us like to just go straight for the issue and try to tackle that head on, but the biggest problem is that issue is only temporary. What we actually need to do is take a step back and actually look at the lesson that we are trying to learn in life. And this is where our greatest growth is by learning the lessons in life and realizing that, yes, there can be a lot of negative things that happen in our life, but if we actually look at the lesson, that is the positive aspect you want to take out of that situation. Because if you just look at the issue, that's going to lead to negative thinking, and we're trying to avoid the negative thoughts. So let's actually take a step back and look at what lessons we've learned that we can actually improve and apply to, you know, future endeavors. So remember to focus on the lesson and not the issue. So my next concept here is something that is actually quite simple, but you have to continuously apply, and that is positivity attracts positivity. So the longer you can stay positive and always try to grab, you know, the positive things out of a situation, you know, the more positive your life can be. And this is something that takes work, and like anything else, it takes repetition. So as long as you are continuously trying to always see the positive about things, and a lot of times that is not easy, right? There are a lot of major life events where looking at the positive on things just is not going to happen, but you have to take that step back. If it's something very traumatic, well, then take the time you need to, you know, get over whatever that event is. But what you want to do is overall take a step back and look at the grand scheme on the positive outlook on it, right? If it's a job loss, well, maybe that opens up the opportunity to start other things that maybe you didn't think you would actually do. Like maybe it's the time for you to open a business, or maybe it's the time for you to get your health in check or look for new opportunities. Whatever it is, whatever the situation is, you always want to try to look at the positive aspects of what is going on, because the more you do that, you find more positivity presents itself in your life. The next thing I have for you guys is differences actually aren't as bad as they seem, but typically similarities are. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that differences actually provide greater growth, right? They actually provide a window of opportunity in which we can grow by those differences and determine what those differences are. And you actually find that you guys may be on completely different spectrums when it comes to your differences. But the thing is that you can actually learn more if you look into what the differences are, try to get the viewpoints from that other perspective, that the differences will provide you with more growth, that will provide you with more insight onto something that perhaps you weren't aware of, where similar things are something that you kind of standoffish and you don't look any further into it. So differences can provide great value as long as you're open to the differences and try to understand the differences between the two. And you'll hopefully find common ground. And even if not, it's still a great learning process that could open you up to more value and more growth by just trying to understand differences. So this next one I have for you guys, I think is actually extremely valuable, and that is to travel. If you're not a traveler, or you may be that person that can't afford to travel, or maybe is living in the same town, whatever the reason is, it is important to travel if you can, and try to do as much traveling as possible, because you realize that a lot of times when you go to different areas, especially if you're traveling around the world and you live in the States, one thing you may not actually notice is that Americans actually have it really good. And this is something we don't understand. We think it's like this all across the world because it's the only reality we actually see, when in turn we aren't exposed to the other lifestyles that are out there around the world, around the globe. I mean, there's just so many different perspectives out there because people have grown up completely different in completely different scenarios than us. Not only us as in, other Americans, other people, we see on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking about people that, may live in Africa, battling to stay alive, battling just to have, clean water. I mean, just imagine that. Imagine how much your perspective would change if you just grew up that way, right? And we aren't really exposed to these different things until we actually do some travel. So if you can get around and see the different perspectives, then you can appreciate life in general, what you actually have, and be grateful for what you have and the opportunities you're provided, because a lot of those opportunities are not provided. And travel is a great way to actually expose that to other perspectives. So these are just some of the techniques that I actually use to have a positive perspective on life. Now, if there's any other techniques out there that you guys think would actually help the other people watching this video, I would love you guys to leave a comment down below and share those with everybody. And if you guys actually enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next time, I will see you guys later.